would be fantastic. Everybody, this is Rula, and you can see from your program what she's here to talk to us about. So I'm just going to hand over because I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sam. And yeah, I really enjoyed the last talk on machine learning. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and how I got into machine learning and some of the lessons learned, and hopefully we can have questions at the end. So I work at the crossroads of machine learning in the media. I actually work for an anti-fake news company where we work with governments and social media platforms and agencies to help them detect, score, and remove disinformation and misinformation. I grew up in London and I love to cycle, walk by the river, bake, and I'm very curious about people. So I guess you're wondering how I got into machine learning. And I'd say at school I was really good at maths and science, but I also had a creative streak. For example, I was really good at history as well. And I actually wanted to study computer science, but I went to a girls' school, and back then, it sounds like 50 years ago, but it wasn't. You weren't really encouraged to do that. So I'll give you an example or a story of when I was at school. I built the front end of eBay because I felt that eBay, the marketplace, was geared towards males and not really girls. So I built the front end and tried to design it in a way that was kind of appealing to females. So it focused on fashion. It was very more, I guess, girly colors. And I needed to put a payments gateway to sort of turn it into an actual marketplace. So I asked one of the computer science teachers at school, how do I do this? Can you help me build this? And he said, okay, you need to know JavaScript, sorry, but please focus on your academics, don't focus on this stuff. So that was kind of like my first little blow to getting into this world. But I didn't lose interest. I actually went on to study economics at university. The reason for that was because, as the previous speaker said, I was quite interested and quite good at maths. And I felt that it was a way in which we could apply kind of maths to the social sciences. And in my final year of undergrad, having done economics, I actually tried to quantify political bias in text in the media. So I looked at the Arab-Israeli conflict and I tried to sort of look at the biases between kind of how the media was presenting that story. And I tried to quantify that, but didn't have the methods at hand at the time. So I ended up having like a very qualitative study. And I actually came back, so having worked, went on to graduate and worked in finance and consulting for a while. I actually went back to tech and machine learning after a few years of doing that because I didn't really enjoy the kind of corporate world. And more importantly than that, I wanted a sign, and I saw this opportunity, which was, I felt that there was going to be a trust crisis in the media. And I got that sign because my father asked me to download the Guardian app for him, which was really weird because, I don't know, I guess because we grew up online. So we got all our information from all different sources on the internet, and it kind of didn't really matter that much where we were getting it from. So that was kind of, our world was informed very differently to how our parents and the previous generation's world were informed of the media and news and stuff like that. So I realized that a lot of the older generation didn't realize that there was this gap, that kind of the new generation coming along questioned kind of traditional media, and so that was naturally going to precipitate a trust crisis. So I contacted Professor Sebastian Riedel, who's now at Facebook AI Research. He is still a professor at UCL actually, of natural language processing, and I said, can I kind of work with you on these things or study under you, whatever? And he said, no, go away, this is like crazy stuff, like we don't think there's anything wrong with the media. But then like 2 years later, Trump was elected. I managed to get myself into UCL, and he realized that actually this was a problem that he could apply a lot of the stuff that he was researching at UCL. And after I graduated, or during my master's in machine learning, I got a grant from the European Union to commercialize quite a lot of the work that I was doing. So yeah, and I then was contacted by this the company that I work for, to sort of, because they'd taken quite a lot of my work, so they asked me to kind of help them build that with them. So at the moment we're working on a couple of projects. So the first is quite relevant for the time. We're helping the UK government track disinformation around COVID and anti-vaccine, in particular anti-vaccine disinformation, because a lot of the anti-vaccine like fake news has real life ramifications. For example, ethnic groups are likely to take less likely than white ethnic groups to take up the vaccine, and oftentimes you find that they're targeted online with disinformation around the vaccine, so they're likely to believe fake news around that, rather than the actual scientific research or public research that's being put out by government. So we're working on that to sort of curtail that, and we're also working with another government to track propaganda that's being put out online by foreign governments to influence people's perceptions. I mean, again, that could be around COVID and the anti-vaccine movement. So there's been a lot of disinformation around whether COVID actually exists and whether we actually need lockdowns. And it's in real life, this translates into very disruptive kind of like social movements. So what we do is we help kind of identify and track that propaganda to sort of curtail and try and figure out ways in which we could counteract that propaganda. And I also have a project with at the moment, and that is in similar vein. It's a primarily fact checking project where TikTok, any content that's flagged as disinformation or problematic is sent to us, and then we do the fact checking for it. So we sort of classify that information as either false or true or needs further verification. And that's done by matching the claims being made in a TikTok video to databases online. So yeah, machine learning is really great. Many applications in this space. And if I were to sort of kind of think about where I am at the moment and how I got here, I would say focus on the areas that you love, and nothing is it's never too late to sort of try again or kind of start anew. And even though I'm giving this advice, I actually struggle with these two notions myself. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Rula. That was great. I just wanted to ask you though, when you started doing the machine learning, was fake news even a thing when you started that? Because fake news has become very, oh, we've lost you visually. I know you're back. With fake news is sort of quite, I don't know, I sort of relate it to the Trump era kind of things over the last few years. So it's sort of a new thing. Had you imagined that fake news was going to be a thing when you started doing machine learning, or did you come to that after learning about machine learning?
So and like I did economics, so a lot of it was kind of like solving social problems through maths.
Right.
Can you hear me? And so I had this. Well, yeah, I did actually. So to summarize it, I did. I mean, I had an inkling that if I could do the things that I think I could do, we could try and solve or think through the media differently.
Right.
And that was how I approached Sebastian, the professor at UCL. But he didn't quite see that, and I think probably this is like an example of why diversity of thought is so important, because I guess he was just in the weeds. You know, he's really good at mathematics. That group are really good at maths, and they just focus on like creating like the most kind of state of the art algorithms rather than like how do we apply this technology to real world problems. So I did see it before it happened. Yeah. And like even with the eBay story, I mean, you now have Depop, which is like the kind of conceptualization, the original conceptualization that I had for eBay, because I mean, Depop is quite female focused, whereas eBay is kind of quite, I find it quite male-y.
Just making words up now, really. It's quite melee.
I don't know how to say it. It's like it's
No, I know
built
what
for
you mean.
guys, built for girls.
I know exactly what you mean, though. I tell you what, it's lovely to hear. It's the sort of thing, you know, one evening you might be sitting around and you're putting the words to right and stuff. And I feel like you've been doing that and then you've just picked it up, taken it and gone and done it. It's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Rula. It's really inspirational to meet somebody like you.